What's up? This is ASTROVILLE. We're back in the Ville.
Let's go. We back.
I got a couple of awesome guys with me. I don't know if you tuned in to what just happened. I don't know what just happened, but we're back
and we here
in the correct way. So I got Edwin, I got Craig.
Let's go.
These guys are in charge of the group here called Iron Men at LightSeekers.
Yes, sir.
And so they get to see a lot of different men from all different walks of life. They're from different walks of life. Mm-hmm. And so let's go ahead and dive right in, shall we?
Dive right in.
That's what's up. Let's
go. Oh, by the way, before we got started, I had to check their mics. And so I told them to tell me the most embarrassing moments of their life. So let's start there.
All right, so I was telling them that obviously on my way home from school, I think I was in 7th grade, and on my way, like, I had to go to the bathroom. I really did. And my butthole played turned on the whole way up there. It's like a 7-minute walk, but I'm like speed walking. So I get there, and me attempting to like break in my crib, like I know that there's a window open. I know a certain way how to get my house, but it was locked. So as I'm standing on the gate, on the fence to reach the window, when I went to go push the window up that was locked, it came out on the other end. So I ended up pooping on myself. And the funny part about it was when I went to the next door neighbor, I said, hey, my door's locked, you know, my mom ain't home. They're like, yeah, sure, no problem. But I'm like, but I also poop myself. Like, the situation ain't just me being locked out. It's me being locked out with poopy pants.
Oh, man.
No, that's nasty.
That's all good. Hey, everybody, if you haven't
pooped yourself, you're lying. You
live life. That's right. We all got some, we all got one of the moments.
Okay, what about you then?
About me, all right. So when I was I probably was young. I was in a wedding, and I was actually supposed to be the ring bearer, which I was a ring bearer. So I actually had the little ring on the little pillow, right? So I had the
nice and neat.
Oh, nice and neat. Where I had the groom, and I'm in the bride's ring. But it was actually so you had to actually come. It was in the backyard. So they actually had like a little patio deck, like handmade built wood. It was nice, probably maybe about 6 inches thick, right?
Pretty.
So you're supposed to actually like step over the patio to actually get to the bride and groom. I'm trying to get there, thinking the whole time, hey, don't fall. And I actually tripped and I fell. And I remember, I tripped, fell, lost the ring, lost
Everything
the pillow. Gone. And the fact that it was videotaped. So everybody was watching and rewinding, seeing me fall.
Is this on YouTube right now?
No, this ain't YouTube.
We gotta search it up.
This back in the day, so you know what I'm saying, the VCR, VHS.
Hey, they can still, transfer the VCR to the, the cassette tape.
So that was like one of my most embarrassing moments.
Gotcha.
Had to relive, And it's funny because I still remember that. And I was small. That's how you know it was embarrassing, because I was.
It's funny how when you try and focus so hard on not doing something, you end up doing it.
I know. I felt that way when I graduated high school too. Like, yo, don't trip.
You tripped there too?
I didn't trip though, but I was thinking.
But his main focus was that don't trip,
right? Because I remember when I was young, I tripped. So I'm like, yo, do not trip. They call your name, Craig Miller. Hey, just walk up there, neat. You know what I'm saying? I'm over there. I got dress shoes on, so I'm in there walking nice and slow.
Clack.
Right. So I didn't fall though. I did.
He made sure he did.
I made it. You know what I'm saying? Sure. I didn't want to relive that experience.
I can't tell y'all the most embarrassing story.
Just one of them.
But I can tell you one. So it's another short story. I was with some friends we were kind of in like the Cocoa area, and I was in the back seat, and I think I had ate like some Diet Mentos, like candy though.
Okay.
So I was just eating them, and I didn't really eat anything else, and so I'm in the back seat, and I gotta blow ass. So
you gotta blow poop.
But it wasn't gas though.
So you thought it was gas.
I'm like, yo. But the thing is, we were headed back into town, Tytusville, where I'm from.
Okay.
But my girlfriend at the time called me. She was at this little graduation party. She was like, oh, stop by and everything. And so it's on the way. So I'm like, I got to get in and get out, right? So I went up in there with clenched cheeks. Just clenched. And I ran up. I gave her a hug. I was like, good to see you, girl. I'll see you later.
I'm out.
I went, and then we got in the car. I'm like, yo, we got to get home. They're like, what happened? I'm like,
only if you do. If you really want to know.
Hey, that's what's
But I played it off like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I got
nothing.
Hey,
it could have been anybody at that party that smelled like doo-doo.
That's
absolutely
true.
It wasn't me.
But the worst part is when it's in the cheeks, bro.
Yeah.
It's just in there. You can't do nothing about it.
You got to kind of like conserve.
And then don't sit down.
I had to like lay in the back seat. You know what I'm saying?
Man. Amen.
Well, we're getting off to a pretty Rough start.
It's all right.
It's all
Listen,
good.
embarrassing moments. Let's
Hey.
start it off just like that.
Those are the ones you remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are the ones that make you who you are.
You
Yes,
said you wanted to be transparent and intentional. We gonna be. You can't be more transparent than sharing the time that you farted on yourself.
Hey.
Amen. Let's go.
I think I could be a little more transparent.
Let's run it. Let's go on the
Well,
topic.
I wanted to talk about some things in particular.
Let's go.
Right. So at LightSeekers and the place I was before here, Revive Church,
Mhm.
right?
Okay.
They had a men's group there, and I think ours was kind of based off of that one. You know,
Okay.
before
Okay.
you were like, so me and Nate went to this other one, and we're like, we really like this, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was an astounding number of men there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had never seen that many men in a church, you know. And then even here, it's like you guys got, I don't know how consistent, you know, but you guys have a number of men coming here.
Yeah.
And everybody deals with kind of different issues and stuff. But,
Absolutely.
one of the things I've noticed in general is that there's a lack of men in church.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So why do y'all think men aren't coming to church?
There's numerous versions and reasons. For me personally, why I never went was a simple fact that, you know, it was never taught to be a leader as far as being a kingdom man. Like, you didn't have to go to church to be a man. It wasn't masculine. It wasn't something that showed proof of strength or something
So
like
it was
that.
like
You know what I mean?
evidence of weakness that you went to church.
Of course. Remember, when you go to that altar, you got to come with meekness. You know what I mean? You got to come with humility to really just surrender everything. You know what I mean? And pride, entitlement, and ego. What do men struggle with? You know what I mean? To really swallow that pride and that entitlement when you come into the altar, when you come into church, when you're worshiping something other than yourself.
Right,
You know?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
you're asking a man to just remove everything that they stand on and everything that they believe coming in the world. You know, especially for myself, you know, when coming into somewhere to raise my hand, to worship something, you know what I mean, that I haven't encountered or experienced, you know what I mean? Or even felt the presence like flood over my life, you know? So it's like, what person is going to be able to come to that place? Well, not just come to it, but come to it genuinely and sincere. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, anybody can come and just fake the funk. You know what I mean?
That's
But
true, yeah.
to come to the altar and to come to a building really like with a pure heart and genuine and humble with meekness. You know what I mean? Like, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
You know, and it's in that place that's going to have you stay here and keep yourself to be available to serve, to be a blessing, to continue to just pour out to men, to pour into and to be poured into as well. You know, so there's a lot of that takes place into it, you know. But for me, I think is pride, ego, and entitlement that stops a lot of men not only from coming but from staying and actually serving. You know.
I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, go
okay,
ahead.
so, but I mean, I would agree with that too, and I think just to kind of add on to that, I think kind of what he's saying, a lot of men doesn't, again, first seeing it as weakness.
Yes.
But then also, I think too, just not having an example to really see that too. So not having to not understanding what it looks like, right? What
To be shown everything.
right?
Yeah.
To, you know, how should I be, or why should I go to church? And really, and I think too, I think again for why men don't come, because I think the way they view church, right? The way they think church is supposed to be stops a lot of men from coming too, because they think it's just the pastor telling them how they should live and what they should do, and no man want no other man to tell them what to do.
For sure.
That's the biggest thing, right? As a man, and me being macho, being in this bravado, how some other man gonna tell me how to live, right? If I come
Or
here,
what I shouldn't do.
right? And I think that's the biggest trouble. Even as someone who actually has led multiple men groups, the biggest thing a man struggles with is some other man telling them, okay, how they should live, what they should do. How you gonna tell me what I should do? Or you think that I'm judging you because I'm telling you, hey, you shouldn't live your life in this particular way. I think that's the biggest thing, especially when we talk about looking at scripture and looking at the Bible.
Only a full haste correction.
Right. Only a full haste correction, right? And I think when you're looking at scripture, you're looking at that, no man wants to do that. And how do I know that? How do I know that's true in some kind of way? Because I see it even in relationships,
Absolutely.
even in marriage, right? No man wants their wife to kind of just tell them what to do. Soon as they feel that the wife is telling them,
There's resistance.
right, there's resistance, right? Soon as she start telling them or bumping against the ego, he's like, woman, you can't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Don't
I'll do it, but don't tell me to do it.
Do you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So you already just see that just in a relationship aspect. So you can imagine
And then it operates and it activates a spirit of rebellious too, to act on rebellious. You know what I mean? And to really just, no, I'm not going to do it because you're telling me I can't do it. You're telling me I have to do it. The simple fact that even if they don't know or it wasn't shown, the simple fact that you're telling me I can't or should do it, it's like, no, I'm not going to do it.
No, I'm not going to.
I think that's really how I live my life most of the time. When somebody tells me to do something, I'll not do it on purpose just because they told me to do it.
That's what I'm saying. Sure. Right.
You
for
know?
sure. Yeah,
So it's the spirit of rebellious. As soon as it gets activated, as soon as someone tells you you're not supposed to do something or you should do something, it's like, I'm going to go against the grain. It's in our nature. Like, you know what? No, how about that?
I think there also may be some value to not going with all the lemmings that are jumping off the cliff, though, you know? And, I mean, I definitely know that there's been times in my life where being rebellious has led to harm. But I also know that if I would have went with everybody else on certain things, that I would have been in harm's way.
No, you can't just go with the flow. You got to be able to stand firm on something. You know,
you kind of got to be able to govern yourself.
Correct. But I think that's what I think. So here we go. So I think
governing and go ahead.
No, what you about to say? I'll let you go. Go ahead.
To govern yourself in what form, though? You know what I mean? Like as long as you're standing on the word of God and His instructions, then you're going to stand firm, not to be led away or just go flowing with anybody else.
Yes.
So
well,
most
do you have to go to church to do that then?
You got a fellowship. And in order for you to know your calling, and you have a purpose, right? And you have to be God's hands and feet. You have to be an instrument for His will. And He can't do that if people are not giving Him their yes. You know, when you're going there to church and fellowship, like coming here is seeing my family, worshiping God, giving Him something and receiving something from Him when my pastor's on there preaching the word. You know what I mean? So that's a gift that I get from God, and I give God a gift by worshiping. And it's among my family, my brothers, my sisters. Hey, how y'all doing? God bless y'all. Praying for one another. See how's everybody doing? You know, it's a Sunday thing, but that's not my lifestyle. Like every day I wake up is to pick up my cross and to give God my yes. You know what I mean? Like whatever you want to be done, let your will be done over my life. Give me the eyes and the ears to be sensitive on what you're trying to lead me to do. It's not just about, go work and be a provider. No, Lord, have your way. Lead me where you want me to go.
Come on.
It has to be like that, you know, this here. And then not only that, serving and being amongst us, you end up finding your calling. When I'm here and I'm around brothers and stuff like that, I see the desire and the passion that God's given me over my life to be amongst men, to grow, to build. Like, I love Craig's heart, you know what I mean? For the simple fact that he loves the men, to see them grow and to be the father and the leaders and the husbands that we're called to be. I love that he has that passion because I share that, you know what I mean? We're amongst men, and it's like, that's how I live my purpose. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I'm able to live the calling that God has for me, is to be among men, you know what I mean? And just to see each other grow, encourage each other. Like, he encouraged me, I encourage him, and it's like, we need that. Iron Man, iron sharpens iron.
Come on. You know I mean? So I think that's, so when you say, do you need to go to church, right?
Come on.
So even when you ask that question, like, you're asking that question in the, how you want to say, in a kind of like, I want to say condescending way, like, well, do I have to go to church? So when, I think it's the perspective on what church is. I think that's the problem, right? What people think church is. So even when we say the word, and I think you even said this on one of your other shows, like how we define words, right? Yeah. Or how we see things. When we hear the word religion, you talked about it, right? So I think when men or people hear the word church, they already have an idea of what that means. So
this whack place,
right? This whack place, and the passages, money hungry, judgment, whatever they see on TV, like whatever their perspective of what church is. They don't know what it is, so they stay away from it because their perspective is incorrect. But maybe it is, though. Maybe it is correct. I mean, how many churches have you been to? I mean, I've been a few. I mean, I've been a good amount of churches. But
were they all a good example of what church is supposed to be?
Negative.
That's true.
So I mean, it's definitely a big problem.
Absolutely.
And I actually stopped going to church for a long time because I read the book of Acts, and I'm like, I have not been to a church that looks like this.
Yes.
Right. And then I eventually went to a church that looked like it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to dip my toes in this place, see how it goes. You know what I'm saying? But I was very put off because, I mean, a lot of the people that went to church that I knew, they were weirdos, man. They were really weird. And also believing the things that I believe in the Bible, I think is weird still. Like, there's things that I believe that I'm like, I feel like I'm nuts. Yeah. I feel like I'm a little nuts.
And I think that's a good point. I think that, so I would say this, right? So I've been to a lot of different churches, and I've even served in churches that maybe I didn't agree with everything that's going on, right? So here's the question I always have to ask myself. Am I doing this for church, or am I doing this for God?
Boom.
So I think that makes a difference, right? If I'm doing it for Jesus and I'm doing it for God, I think sometimes we get caught up in looking at the church and looking at the building, and we forget it's about loving and serving people, regardless of what the church look like. Because God created the church, God created people, God created the body. So at the end of the day, if you're just following church and the pastor, then of course you're gonna have the wrong perspective. Of course, every time you see somebody do something wrong,
you're gonna get offended.
You're gonna get offended.
Bitterness inside.
Right. You see the pastor do something, he mess up. Our pastor Nate say something wrong. As soon as he say something wrong, it's
you're
like
offended.
You're offended. I'm out. Well, this pastor don't, because you're looking at him to be this. You're not following God. You're not doing what God is calling. God is not the one who's running you. Like Jesus is not the one you're following. You're following the church and the people and the idea of church. Like that's what you're doing. Like you're not. And I think a lot of people say that so quickly. And I've been in churches where, again, where I've been places where I don't agree or I don't see everything, but it's not about.
But as a man, it's easier. Anybody can come into a place or a building, especially as men, can always look for the flaws.
There you go.
And the wrongs that are
there you
happening.
Go, yes.
Anybody can see that, and we have focused on that versus changing our lens. Like, you know what, Lord, you've called me here. How can I be a blessing? How can I shift things?
Come on.
How can I lead? And like you said, to be shown, we got to lead by that example. Yeah. This is how we're supposed to do it. This is how we're supposed to walk out. This is how we're supposed to love. This is how we're supposed to forgive our brother. This is how we're supposed to come to each other and confess our sins. You know what I mean? And we prove that by doing the transparency. And Pastor Nate does the same thing. He creates that place of transparency. So it's like, you know what? He's always transparent, and it begins to build a platform where brothers can come to him and brothers can share at our Bible study to be transparent, because we share transparency. You know what I mean?
Nate said to me a while back, this one thing really, really hit. He said, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly how he said it, but something like, as a leader, I don't ever want to be at a place where I can't kneel at the altar.
Right, correct. That's correct. Yes.
And I was like, wow, because, I mean, growing up, I didn't really have much of an example in church, in the domain of religion or faith that showed a vulnerable, yet pious, yet strong, courageous, confident, you know, and I was looking for that. Like when I was coming to church, when I was young, I actually, the reason, like how you were saying, the reason why I even went to church was because the tether from me to God was something so deep that I was like, I have to be here because this is what my Father has called me to.
Right, come on.
Right? Even though I was at church and I was like, yo, these people are whack. Like,
right, yes.
But I was very young and I didn't know a whole lot.
Right,
I mean, I didn't know anything. You know, but the place I was coming from was, I always, even when I left church for a while, I always had a heart to seek and to know God.
Amen.
But the body of Christ, you can't be the church by yourself.
No, you cannot.
Yeah, that's why we're a body.
Body, one
I
hand.
need my brothers and sisters.
That's right, come on.
I need Bible study. I need fellowship, bro. I go to fellowship every day of the week. You know what I mean? For the simple fact, it fills my passion. It fills my calling. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing better than being part of the body and being used. Like Pastor Nate, when he had the pieces puzzled and being part of the body, right? Everybody has their piece, right? You have to be able to be used. That's your piece, bro. It's like, there's nothing better than having your purpose being fulfilled.
Right.
When you see that, and then you see God moving, you know what I mean? And then after that, you can't get bored. You can't get bored in your walk because you're being used. You're being used. You have a purpose, you know? But for me, even with vulnerability, right? You can't allow God to enter in your life and flood your life and your heart, man, if you have a wall up, you know what I mean? And being vulnerable allows you to take down that wall, bro. Be transparent, be vulnerable, share your wounds and your scars, you know what I mean? Allow people to come in. You know, it was the church in Maine that I was able to encounter true, sincere, agape love, like unconditional love. And that's what, as a body of believers, that's what everyone should be able to feel when they walk in through these doors. As men, to be able to share that unconditional love and that transparency, because we know what it was to be there. You know what I mean? And we're just trying to shift things as men, man. We see the problem. We've seen the things that it continues to pass on generational. So when you share this topic, man, it's something that's huge, because it shuts down homes as fathers, as husbands, as leaders in our workplace, our community, our churches. You know, and like you said, there's always more women than it is men. You know what I mean? Like, and you look around, it's like, where are the men at?
Where they at? So I think that's so, man, you hit on so many things. I was man, you had so many points. That's why I love what to do, being able to do, because you be so many points, right? So, but here's what he said something, right? I think I'm gonna say two things, and I think what he mentioned too, like, God can't use you, and me and him talk about this
all the time.
God can't use you if you're not available. Everybody want to be used. Everybody want to know their purpose. But if you ain't available, can't nobody use you. Like if you're not there, how is you going to be used in any situation? People like, I'm going to give you a good example, right? People like, man, and I would just use something in need. Like I'm in need, you know, I want God, you know, I need a new job. God, you know, bless me with a new job. But here it is, but you're not a part of the body. You isolating yourself. You're not near anybody, right? You sleeping, but check this out. You become available. You do what God called you to do. You be available, be around people. You see someone, you're around other men. They say, you share, hey, I'm looking for a
job.
Edwin say, you know what? I know somebody that got a new job. Well, hey, I know somebody looking for somebody that need a new painter. Boom, boom. Now you got a new job because you're available. God can't bless you. God can't use you if you're not if you're not around. You're just in your own isolation, like, and that's a scheme from the devil. Like you're just in your own isolation. Absolutely. You're in your own little place.
That's a big reason for a lot of the suicides. You know, with the lockdowns,
the isolation,
the suicide rate went skyrocketed
because of isolation. Because that's a scheme, bro. Like, and I think that's a scheme even for men. It's like I'm gonna be my own man, be my own person,
do my own
thing, right? So I think that's part number one. And the second second thing I think too. Everyone want to complain about something or come into a church and be like, oh, and especially as men, oh, I don't really like the way he doing this. I don't really like the way I don't really like. Here's my thing, just like I say at work. Don't ask for the change. Be the change, right? You want to see that? Once you start loving some people,
go. Come on.
You start treating some people
Make
right.
that shift.
You start being kind. You start loving people. You start welcoming people. You don't complain about it, right? Don't be a complainer because that's not a man. A man don't complain. Like we solve problems.
Yeah,
I'm solving problems.
That's
Look,
right.
if there's an issue, I'm gonna solve the problem. So here it is. I don't see no love. Let me start loving some people. Let me start shaking some hands. Let me start
serving. Let me start doing whatever I need to do.
Now
you're a blessing.
You're creating the atmosphere that you want.
Atmosphere changes.
You don't have to. You're not waiting for some other dude or some other guy. But everybody want to be the man, and but then you want to wait for some other dude or some other guy to be that for you. Won't you be a man and step up and you be that?
A man of God.
Come on, like let you be that. You want to see that, like you do that. You don't see it, you go.
And
ahead
it's stepping out your comfort zone. Is being comfortable. Like, all right, I'm gonna just stay in this place. I'm not gonna stretch out of that. I'm not gonna walk into unknown areas in my life. I'm not gonna walk into the uncharted areas in my life and walk by faith and let God lead me. I'm gonna just stay here and do what I want to do. You know what I mean?
I think that's why Jesus said, "I'm gonna send you the Comforter," because He's calling us out of comfort.
Come on. Man,
and it's all through God that we're able to do that, bro.
That's what I'm saying.
Me on my best day, I couldn't love these men. I couldn't share. I couldn't encourage. I couldn't wake up just with the joy of the Lord over my life. Like I couldn't do it without Him. You know, it's only through Jesus that I'm able to do anything, bro. It's only through Jesus that He gives me the heart transplant. He transforms His heart. You know what I mean? And a lot of people have hardened hearts, man. They come in here and they resist so much. It takes more energy to fight against it, bro. Rather just like, you know, I've caught myself multiple times at the beginning of my walk resisting the presence of God just overflowing me in worship or in prayer. And it was just, I was always fighting it. And it was until I was on a kayak in 4th of July in Maine, surrounded by wilderness, and I was just like, you know what, Lord, like I'm surrounded by your creation, and everything was just open. My eyes, my spirit was just sensitive to everything. And I was just like, you know what, let me stop fighting this, Lord. Have your way over my life.
That's come on.
And we just fight against it, bro. We do.
What happened?
What happened?
Yeah, in that moment, did you have some kind of transcendent experience?
I was soft. I would say like my heart, I was real sensitive to things. Like even like this creation, I was around trees. I'm in Maine in the wilderness, you know? So it was definitely, it was definitely an encounter where
You a
it was.
city guy?
Of course, Philadelphia all the way.
So he went out there, he went in the country, boy.
In the sticks. We're talking about Maine. But it was the wilderness. So for me, it was good because it separated myself from the drama, the wild, the city life, the fast life, the finances, the work, the hustle and bustle thing, and it just separated me from everything. But even here, like I feel towards that God can meet you anywhere you at, bro. You don't have to be in Maine. You don't have to be. That's just my personal testimony experience. But for me, man, it's just a resistance, man. And I pray that, you know, even when men come in here, that we just allow ourselves to be used in a way where we could just walk it out with them in a way where, because we know what it is to be there. We know what it is to be in pain, to be lost, to live in darkness, to be angry, to be frustrated, to live in rage, depression, anxiety. Like I've been in there. So when I see that pain, I feel it. And we always create that platform where we try to walk it out.
And that sound like but even the way he's talking, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think with men, right, man. I think even the way he's talking. I know you're about to say that, but even the way they talking, like even him talking about being surrendered and worship, like that stuff sounds weak. But we forget again. We have the wrong perspective of who Jesus is. That's the greatest man on earth that ever lived. Like Jesus was the greatest. Look, Jesus was the greatest man that ever lived. And I think because we have our perspective wrong on who Jesus is, we got our perspective wrong on manhood. That's the real issue right there.
That is the real issue, actually. I 100% agree. We were kind of talking about we got the wrong vision of what church is, right? When people think about church, they think about this whack place, which for a good reason, because many churches are pretty whack.
Yeah, that's
many churches don't look like the Bible, don't look like Acts, real traditional.
But I don't wait for others to fulfill my purpose and my calling.
That's what I'm saying. Come on. We'll go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
So, I think that people take that view of church and transpose it onto their view of God.
Right. Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Jesus in his time on earth, and I think a lot of times we view Christianity as an idea rather than a person, right?
Correct.
Because if Jesus, was this prophet that lived, a couple thousand years ago, he was the greatest man. Okay, cool. But he died, right?
Yes.
But the question is, did he raise from the dead?
Come on, yes.
If you doubt that, a question that.
Yes, come on, let's go.
So I think that's the whole point of where everything hangs on. If you don't believe that Jesus raised from the dead, and he's seated at the right hand of the Father, there's no reason to go to church.
That's true. No, I'm with you on that. That's what he's saying in Corinthians 15. That's right. Yeah.
So, and Jesus, he came to shake up the view of God.
Yeah.
They were pissed off at Jesus because he was like, my father, this and that, and they're like, your father who?
Right, yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
Right, yeah.
And then like, you're
I am him, he is he, I am he.
That's blasphemy right there.
Right, yeah.
You can't, because if you're saying that your daddy is God, that means that you're God.
Right.
You said it, not me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then like, nah, that's blasphemy. You're of the devil. He's like, let's get real here. Let's get real. My daddy is God. If you are also a child of God, you would recognize me.
Right, come on.
But the reason why you don't recognize me is because you're a child of the devil. You're like, oh, get out of here, man. You're done.
That's it.
Round 2, you're out of here. They were like, they didn't accept it. They didn't accept it. But I think that's the revelation that Jesus really wanted to bring, the perspective that he really wanted to bring to mankind, to see God as not only a father, but the best father.
Come on, yes.
And I think a lot of times, people don't get an example of what that good father looks like played out.
Because we're in a fatherless generation.
We are in a fatherless generation.
But we're here to break that cycle.
Yeah, we are. As men of God, we all have our own families. We're married, and we lead our household in humility and strength.
Absolutely.
The thing is, like, I was reading these statistics about like children that come from a broken home and stuff, and how they're like much more likely to be poor, much more likely to be incarcerated, much more likely to
I'm one of those statistics.
I was looking at, I'm like, dang,
I'm part of those numbers,
kids, man. And I was like, oh shoot, I'm one of them. I'm like, but my life didn't play out like one of them. So I'm like, I was thinking I was in the other category, and it hit me. I'm like, dang, I'm in the category that I should be in jail. And I should be in jail because I've done plenty of things that could get me there. But God has been so faithful in my life, even when I haven't been
faithful. That's right.
And he's always invited me as a son into his household, into his family. But honestly, growing up, I didn't. And before I go any further, I just want to say I am blown away with how my relationship with my father has changed over the years.
Absolutely.
Because we didn't get along at first, and I didn't feel he was that involved or that he necessarily believed in me, but I got to a point where I was so angry at him, and I called him when I was like 15. I let him have it, and that didn't turn out too well.
No.
But as I grew, I started to understand, like, he didn't know any better.
Right.
Like, maybe he did the very best that he could with the example that he was given. And he was raised in a very strict religious household. And so maybe he went, well, I don't want to be like that, and kind of just went off in the other direction, you know?
Yeah.
And I came to understand, like, I can't be mad at him for what he didn't give me or should have given me if I'm not going to be that change, you know? And I have no right to complain. I have no right, because I have the opportunity to make it happen now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And also, I was a horrible son. Like, I can't be mad at him as being a bad dad if I'm a horrible son. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't any better.
And not only that, imagine, mind you, we live with God being in our lives, being the fathers, being the husbands that we are. But before I got saved, you know, being a father and a husband, you know, in my first marriage, you know, with the weight and doing everything on your own strength, on your own knowledge, you know what I mean, between work, between money, finances, and all the problems that life may throw your way, you know, it was always looking for an escape, to smoke a blunt, to go out there and drink, to separate yourself. You know what? I'm going to step out. I'm going to go to the bar. I'm going to go have a few drinks. So I always escaped and ran away from the pressure of life, you know what I mean, from the overwhelming weight of life, you know what I mean, all the pressure that we had to be strong, we had to be the man of the household, we had to do everything, so we carried all of that. And that weighs down after a while. When I was able to let go of those burdens and really release all of those things, man, walking into this walk with the Lord, I felt so much peace and freedom over my life, knowing that I didn't have to carry these burdens no more. But when I think back, bro, living that life without God, bro, it breaks us, bro. It really strives us to run away, because it's like, oh, this is too much. I can't do this no more. I can't be in this house. I can't have this pressure.
Did you have
and
a father
it buckles.
around?
Negative. I've never had my father around.
So it was normal to be absent then?
Of course. That's what I'm saying. Like, as long as I provided, I was cool. To me, that was like, all right, the bills are taken care of. I say and I do whatever I want to do because I provide everything. And so if I want to go out, if I don't want to be home all day, if I don't want to be there, if I want to come home at 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, shower, to go to sleep, wake up, and then bounce, then it is what it is. As long as the bread was coming every week and all the bills are being paid off for, you didn't have nothing to say, you know. But at the same time, it was an escape. I didn't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? The pressure of feeling as a father, the pressure of feeling as a husband. You know what I mean? All these things. Like, just because I was a provider doesn't mean I was being the man that I was destined and created to be. You know, and that pressure and that, you know, forces men away, forces men to just walk out is easier.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, wow, I'm not going to deal with this, with the wives and then not having God in the center of it, and marriage and crumpling and stuff like that, with lusting and divorce and cheating and all this, with finances. Like, you think about it, bro, like, everything crumbles after a while. You know what I mean? Why you think the divorce rate is so high? Why you think people are always breaking up or cheating, and the respect and the loyalty and the honor and the purity is not there? Because it's just like, whatever.
It's the law of entropy. Everything falls apart unless it's intentionally held together.
Right. And I think so. So if you don't have God and if you don't have Jesus, it's kind of hard to hold it together because you have nowhere to.
You're doing it on your own strength, your own wisdom, own knowledge.
You don't know how to place those burdens or place the cast your cares and your burdens upon me, right? Because my light is we know it's heavy, right? My light is my yoke is light, right? So I think all those things. I think when you think about fathers, and so like even what you were saying about your dad and how. I mean, even us who don't have fathers. So I think so. When we think about fathers. So I would say like my father was more like so. I was raised more like by my mother and my grandmother and my sister, right? So I grew up in a woman house, right? So I think my dad was there, but not there, right? So I think even again present, but not present. I think sometimes
that could be worse.
See, I don't really know because I think, like you said, I think it could be both ways. I think it's still bad, right?
You still don't get a prime example of what a father's supposed to be, or a father that leads you in the way of God's path.
Right. So I think fatherlessness is not just when we think of fatherlessness. I think we just think of automatically like
absent, somebody
just gone. But I think when we think about fatherlessness, it's not just someone being gone; it's someone being emotionally gone, being physically, like just being checked out. You know what I'm saying, or just being kind of there. But
my kids lived with me, but I was just a provider and
so they provide money and just dipping. So, and I think kind of looking at when you look at what a father should be, a father should be an example of the Heavenly Father, right? So he should discipline and encourage, right? I watched that video you sent me, by the way, right?
Wait, so what video?
You sent me with the Jordan and Peace. Jordan. So I watched that video, and I think there's some. He didn't say it, but I think there's biblical truth in that you must discipline and encourage, right? So if you don't have someone encouraging, I think that he's right that a dad. I think when you think about a dad, you think about the Heavenly Father. A dad, what the Heavenly Father does, he gives you the courage, right? He says, if you focus on my word day and night, right, And you think about my word day and night. He tells Joshua, right, you will be successful and you will prosper, right?
Come on.
So what he's saying is that if you think about me, like you'll be able to do whatever you can, right? You're right. You can do whatever is possible. So I think that's what a father does. A father pushes you to that next level.
Empowerment.
Empowerment, right? God empowers us to do whatever we can.
Come on.
So that same, when a father doesn't encourage you, you don't have when someone encouraging you or telling you, hey, you can do whatever, like you can do whatever you put your mind to. Like whenever you face with something that's wrong or something that's like where you got to be courageous, right? Whatever, you can't. You're able to just step forward into it, you know what I'm saying?
Boldness.
But boldness, because you know at the end of the day, no matter what, my father validates me and gives me value, you know what I'm saying? So I think that is so when we think about God, right? And then God says also in his word, when we talk about Ephesians, says, right, discipline or instruct your children in the Lord, but not provoke them to anger. Again, discipline. So you still discipline them, right? I discipline my children because I love them, but at the same time, I don't want to provoke them to anger. Again, I don't want to be so strict and so that they're just angry at me. Like my dad is never, like again, like what you were talking about, like my dad is, he just always just on me. He won't let me do anything. So we got to find that balance because God has actually found that balance where he kind of disciplines us and he encourages us and we don't have that person there. Again, just because you're physically present doesn't mean you're there. And I think, again, going back to what you're saying, I think because other men or our fathers may have done it because they didn't have an example either. Yeah. So your father probably did it because he didn't have an example.
Absolutely.
My father did it because
he
didn't have an example. Like his father was gone, his father was absent. So he just did, like you said, did the best that he could what he had. And I mean, you can't be mad at him. You got to just be like, all right, cool. But where God has me. So again, I think just thinking about God again, that's how loving God is, right?
Yes.
He sees us, 3 different worlds, different places. He says, you know what? They got a missed opportunity. But you know what? I'm going to come down. I'm going to give them grace. I'm going to give them love. And I'm going to change the game. I'm going to change the Lyles household. I'm going to change the Huertas. I'm going to change the Miller household for the rest of their life, forever. I'm going to change
breaking that cycle.
I'm going to break it because I love them. I'm going to go get them. I'm going to go get them. I'm going to save them. I'm going to rescue them. And now it's broken. So now I have God. So now I can show my son and encourage him. And I don't get it right all the time. I miss it. I'm not perfect.
We're all under construction.
Right, I be missing it. You know what I'm saying? He might have some issues, or my kids. I got 4 kids. They may have some issues because of me. Because why? Because I'm carrying issues and from my life that I may give them a little bit of my baggage. You know what I'm saying? But they're still going to be in a better position to now.
Yeah, and they could do it better.
They can do it better. There you go. Right. Now they can do. They get the opportunities. Like my son wrote me a letter the other day. I mean, almost.
He wrote you a letter.
He wrote me a letter, right? Whoa. So let me say. So in school they were doing letters. They were doing like letter writing, like how to write a letter.
Okay.
So. Jen was like, hey, well, you can write, anybody a letter. So my son wrote me a letter. Man, almost brought me to tears. Wrote me a letter, put it in the mailbox, right? I didn't know he did it, so I went to go get the mail, and I see this letter. So, he wrote the letter, and he just wrote hi, Dad, how, we went to the water park. So he basically kind of explained, but at the end, he's like, you're a great dad. You inspired me to be in the Air Force. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting choked up. You inspired me to be in the Air Force, right?
Come on.
And in that moment, I realized, I realized in that moment that just me being there, showing him a different way, like he can have a dream, a vision, right? He can see something bigger and better than I could ever see. Like when I was little, I just was like, I don't really know. I don't have any, I'm just trying to make it. Like I don't have any vision. I don't have no goal. I'm just trying to make it because no one is
prototype.
Right? Nobody's showing me anything, right? So I wrote. So he was like, Dad, did you get the letter? So then I wrote him a letter back, put it in the mail, you know what I'm saying? And he read it. And he was like the most excited pump, and he was juiced. He was juiced. Like just in that moment of me writing a letter, he came to me, you know what I'm saying? He, gave me a hug and everything. So it was just in those moments when I see when you're involved and active, man, like you could just change the game. Like you could just change man. And people know my son. Like you see my son and me,
an
and my
amazing
other kid,
child.
right? And he, you know what I'm saying? Even my daughter, they just I was working out with her today. You know what I'm saying? Seeing her push, you know what I'm saying? So just being active and involved, man, and just things that I just didn't have. Huh?
And being there.
And just being there,
active
bro.
And
just being there does a lot. And I think also it's the interaction between the husband and the wife
that
too.
That
the
yeah.
kids see.
Yeah.
I think
when you
they
have God in the center
more
of it.
they're watching the parents interact,
Right.
and they learn from just watching them
Yeah,
individually.
correct. Yes, right. That's
So all right, with the fatherless generational stuff, right? It's because they wasn't shown, they wasn't taught, and it's always passed down, right? So when we come and have God in our lives, we're able to break that now. So that's with the fatherless stuff, right? Because they wasn't taught and it's passed down. So it's a generational curse situation where it's always passed down. No one's able to be shown what it is, to have an example of what, to be in a household where it's led by God. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
have that father that's really just following God, man, and just leading his children and his family in the ways of the Lord, right? So we're able to break that coming into Christ, right? So we're going to stop that. We're going to break it because through God, he's able to show us, mold us, purify us to be the men, the fathers, and the leaders that we need to be in our homes. So that's the fatherless generation. And then with the men in the church and being involved and serving and being committed, that's another situation, commitment.
Oh, yeah,
So
don't get me on that one.
commitment, that's a whole situation. You know what I mean?
We might need to go there.
Yeah, so
I
it's
can go
like,
there too.
so with men staying, because those were two topics that we wanted to talk about, right? We got the fatherless generational, and we already spoke about that, and then the men being active and participating and serving in the church, and that's the lack of pride, of ego, of commitment, so it's those 3-4 things that stops a man from not only coming, but staying and serving and fulfilling his calling and his purpose, so it's like those things right there is the reason of the lack of men in the church and why we have such a fatherless generation. You know what I mean?
Because ain't no men in church. I mean, I think if people have God in their life, they'll get there, man. I think you have to, because Jesus is the example. Like if you have God in your life, you have Christ at the center, he's the example, man. Like, so you have to have someone to look at. So even me not like my dad not being all the way there, like because I have Christ to look at, I still have somewhere to go. So if I'm like, how should I love? Boom. Christ. How should I sacrifice? Boom, Christ. Okay, should I be, loving, kind? Okay, boom, this is how he did it. Okay, should I be compassionate? Okay, this. So I have someone to kind of actually always reflect on. And here's even thing. And I was just thinking about this the other day too, and I always told Edwin this too. So it's not just me being a godly person. See, this is the good thing this is why men need to be involved, right?
Come on.
Because it's not just about me being a good father, right? It's about him being a good father. Because here's why. If my son only see me doing it, it looks like it's just me. But if he see you doing it and he see you doing it,
it's like,
he's like, oh wow,
light bulb.
There must be something to this God thing because I see other men doing it. Because if it's just me doing it, it's like because he's doing it because he's my father, so he gotta tell me these things. But if you be an example and you be loving, so
that's what my dad be telling me about, and I see men operating in that way.
I see Edwin doing it. Okay, I see the way Edwin is loving it. Okay, you confirming it, right? You confirming with my son, and that's why I always tell men, like, so that's why I see men should be in the kids ministry, right? That's a whole nother story, right? Because I think again it gives them to see that other men are living this lifestyle.
Because if the kids is not seeing other men, it's like daddy's just talking
This
nonsense.
is just again,
I just thought about that. It's almost always women in the kids
come
ministry.
on, bro. Like I can look.
We're going to shift that. That's why it's like I said, it's easier for men to come in there and be like, oh, this is not happening. That's not wrong. But as men of God, we're able to come like, you know what? There's a need here. There's a need there. We're going to run this. We're going to start this. We're going to serve here. We're going to lead here. We're going to show what it looks like here and be an example. And then after that, it's like, okay, people are feeling to see. And then you get people like, all right, that's what it looks like. Because now they have an example. And it's only through God that's going to lead us to be that example, right? So now people are able to see, and then now they stepping in. Yeah. Let's serve more. Okay, this is what men are supposed to do. And now we encourage other men to do it, because now it's not a sign of weakness because you're in the kids ministry, a sign of weakness because you're praying and crying with a brother. You know what I mean? That's what fulfills me when I'm praying with a brother and we going in there crying through the mud and everything, through the pain and all. We're gonna run there. We're gonna heal from it. We're gonna have breakthrough from it. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing better to know how in bondage you were, and how lost you were, and how much in darkness you've lived, to be set free from that.
Yeah.
And then to see others also stuck in that, and then help them walk out of that, bro. There's nothing better than that, bro. There really nothing there is, man. Because it's like, after you know how the enemy operates, it's like, I refuse to allow the enemy not only win over my life, but to see him win over my brothers.
Yeah, come on.
Nah, I refuse to be okay with that.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the men in the kids ministry. And I mean, I never really thought about this much before, but the idea that it should be a woman in the kids ministry, and then to think if a man said, "Hey, I want to get involved in the kids ministry," it's almost taboo. Like,
What?
you're a man and you want to get. Why do you want to be with the
Why
kids?
you think we shift things?
Right. That's why. So I think if you, so there's a way to do it, right? That's what we do it as a married couple, right? So that way it don't look weird. So it's like, okay, well, Craig and Jen is in there, or Edwin and Johnny, like, so that's the way to do it. You put them in teams, and that's why I say I always
That's a good idea.
Right. So
That's
I put
a
them in
really good
put them in teams. Nick and Heather go in there, right? Because now they see men in there, they see men teaching. It's not.
And they see them interacting with the.
Come on, bro.
Exactly.
But that's what I'm
So
saying, like-
imagine if Nick and
Wow.
Heather came in here, and shout out to Nick and Heather as well. God bless y'all service hearts. But imagine if they came in here and didn't see that and just saw a woman in there. Would that have encouraged Nick to step up and be like, you know what? I
I'll
want to
do it.
serve in the kids ministry
That's
as
right.
well.
You see what I'm saying? Because he saw me and him doing it, and actually, I just was like, yo, you gonna do it with her? But whatever. But he was like, all right, cool. But you see, but because, like you said, because he see other men doing it, it doesn't seem taboo. Like, whoa, why would I? He's going along with it. You see,
There's
so
an example being
that's
shown
So
in
here
the
we
ministry.
go, man. I'm about to, man.
Come on.
Man. So what I'm saying, here we go. Church is just an extension of the family. What we do in church should be the same thing at the crib. Like,
That's real.
if the men are leading at home, guess what they should be leading at?
In church.
In church.
Whoa.
Here we go. That's what I'm saying. Church is just an extension of the family. That's all
it.
it is. All we are just aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers.
That's it.
It shouldn't be no different. So if men should be, it shouldn't be flip flop. Like,
So the lack of men in church is directly correlated to the lack of men in home.
come
At
on,
home
bro.
and leaders
Man,
in
like,
home.
we just-
Because mind you, without God, it's too hard. It's too hard. They want to escape. They want to drink. They want to smoke. They want to get high. It's too hard, bro. I'm telling you, I've lived it for 30 years. I don't know how I did it. And that's how I know why I was led into drugs, because it just numbed the pain. It escaped from it. You know what I mean? It allowed me to disappear and forget about the problems of life, of problems of marriage, of fatherhood, of leadership, of home, of bills, everything. You know, it just allowed me to escape. Like, to do it without God, bro, it's easier to just
check
walk
out
away
and check out, or sit on the couch and drink a beer and watch the game. Like,
and tune out.
right, and tune out, because and it's funny because it's so crazy, because I think about, even like thinking about my house, right? It's so crazy because, I mean, you see this a lot too, where again, like, the dad is just a particular figure, right? He's either one or two things. He's either like, he's a provider, right? So he get to do whatever, or he's like just the enforcer, like, well, wait till your dad get home, right? That like, wait till your dad get home, right? Like, you're gonna get punished when your dad get home, because that's really all he do. He just like come to the crib.
You're the bad guy.
Right, he disciplined, or he the lack of discipline. He's not really like encouraged, but he kind of like punish you or whatever. But it's crazy, like, when you think about a household that just run on like Jesus being the center, or being like the one we're looking at, we're submitting unto Jesus, and me and my wife are submitting to Jesus, right? Like, we both discipline. There is no like, you wait till your dad get home. Like,
No.
you act up and like, mom gonna rock you right there. Like, there's no like, oh, wait till dad get home. It's like,
No.
now she might rock up and then tell me later, like, hey,
He got rocked.
hey, you know what I'm saying? What, he's so.
You might have to be the comforter when you get old.
Right, so I might have to switch role. Like, I might have to be the, hey son, why you did, you should listen to him. You see what I'm
It
saying?
needs to be like that though, because we do need to discipline and encourage.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
But we're either given one, like, we only got two roles: provider or discipliner. We don't have no, like, there's no, again, holistically. You look at Jesus, he was everything: discipline, encourage, compassion, love,
Loving.
gentle, patient, kind, right? Meekness, right? What meekness is? What, like, knowing he got strength and power but not using
In
it.
control.
Right. So there's moments, even with my kid, right?
Wait, say it again. What is meekness?
Meekness is having power
And control.
and controlling it. Like, saying I can really punish if I want to, but I'm gonna withstand it.
So it's not weakness.
It's not weakness.
It's
Meekness
not
is not
weakness.
weak-
Power.
Right? Come on, it's power.
With control.
So here's the thing. There's times where I need to discipline, but check it out.
Check it out.
If my son do something, but there's sometimes I need to withhold the power, and maybe I need to just talk him through it, or talk to my daughter, and maybe the grace that they receive in that moment, they become more loving. Right?
I want to tell you a story about that.
Oh,
So I was, I think this was probably a few months back with my oldest son, and he was acting up. He didn't want to go into the shower, right? And so I was like, hey, it's time to take a shower. He's like, I don't want to.
Science? Okay.
I'm like, okay. Well, you're going to have to take a shower. So sit down and think about it. And when you're ready, come take a shower. And so he sat down. A few minutes later, hey, it's time to take a shower. I don't want to.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, okay, well, you're going to have to. So, but, you know, sit there, think about it. When you're ready, you know, come take a shower. And this is at a point where I was like, spankings weren't really working. Timeout wasn't really working. So I'm just like, okay, what the heck? Like, I'm like, all right, God, what do I do? And he was like, tell him that you believe in him.
Encourage him.
Okay.
And so I was like, hey, it's time to take a shower. And I'm like, but first, look me in the face. I believe in you. I love you. I believe in you. You're a good kid, and I know you're going to make the right choice.
Come on. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you want to take a shower? He's like, yeah, I want to take a shower.
No, that's
You
good.
juiced him up.
That's
I was
good.
like,
Juiced him up.
What?
whoa.
That's what I'm saying.
And it blew my mind, and I was like, this is crazy. All he needed was a little bit of encouragement.
That's it.
Just a little bit.
Because discipline wasn't working at that moment. You're right.
And I thought back in my life, and like I said, my dad and I, we have the best relationship now. I'm absolutely thankful for him and how he is in my life and in the life of, you know, lives of my children. But back then, I didn't feel like he believed in me. I didn't feel like my dad believed in me as a person.
Yeah, I feel you.
And when I told my son that, it was like something in me was like, that's all I need.
Come on,
that's all he needed, just a little bit. That's all I need.
But we have that. We have that. We have God sitting there with the instructions, with the words, with the power, and the instructions to have us to be encouraged. You know what I mean?
Approved.
Yeah, and it's like it's all there. You know what I mean? We seek so much for acceptance in the wrong places. My heart, my life was filled with things that were trying to fill a void that wasn't able to be filled. You know what I mean? With materialistic things, with money, with cars, with women, with drugs. It was just temporarily. You know what I mean? We all search for some type of acceptance and acknowledge. You know, and we find it in the wrong places. Women, men, we find it in the wrong places, in the wrong people. And our hearts are always searching. We just don't even acknowledge and see the fact that it's searching for our Creator.
That's right, yeah.
You know?
No, and I was saying too, like, and I think in what he's saying, man, like because of that, because we didn't have that, like we still struggle with that, right? So that's why you see a lot of. So I'm just speaking with myself, right? So even for me, kind of being a little transparent, like even for myself, like me still struggling with the fact that not feeling like my father believed in me. I still feel that way, right? I mean, I even have to tell my wife, like, hey, look, I just need you to believe in me, right? Maybe that's why he gave me such a great wife, right?
Come on, somebody.
Because I just needed someone to believe me, right? Like, if she believes in me in any kind of form of fact, like, I'm good. Like, I feel like I can, and I tell her all the time, like, you believe me, I feel like I can do anything in the world.
Anything.
Because you're right. That's all I really needed was someone to just believe in me just a little bit. Not a lot. Just say, hey.
It just takes a little.
Hey, I believe in you. Like, you could do whatever. Like,
You got this.
You got it. Right.
You
And I
can
think
do
so.
it.
Even for my wife, like, same thing. Like, when she's like, hey, I believe in you. Like, you could do it. You're gonna get it. And she's encouraging me. I'm like, Pat, I could do it. I'm about to. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to kill it right now because that's all I need in that moment. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes going back to like the church and being around the body and believers, when you're around good people and you got someone else around you, and I think encourage you, and Edwin is saying like, bro, you got it, you can do it. I'm like, man, you're right. Or if I'm like, man, I'm kind of struggling here. This is where I'm feeling. I'm kind of like, again, being weak and vulnerable. I'm telling him like, look, man, I'm just feel like I'm falling in this area right here. You're like, nah, bro, you got it, you can do it. I'm like, okay, cool.
Bam.
Boom. All right. Got it. All right, cool. All right, let me shake that off. Boom, wipe that off. I'm good.
But you can't get to that. You can't experience that if you're not part of it, if you're not being involved, you're not serving.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like, it's hard for a person to really just stay in that place where you come into church and really be used and served, man, where you can't see how good you can be used, man, if you just give God your yes. You know, like, it's amazing what God can do with your yes. It's so amazing. It's a blessing thing that continue to just wake up and be like, Lord, use me. And then you see throughout the day when you give God your yes, how he moves and he affects different people. And it's like, it's nothing better than seeing God move in other people's lives through you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's where it's at. You know what I mean?
Men are driven by purpose.
if you're waking up without a purpose, man, it's like Jesus. Same thing with Jesus. Everywhere he went, everything he did, even to the water, even to the well with the Samaritan woman, everything that he did, it had a purpose. You know what I mean? When you're going to your job, when you're going to the supermarket, you have a purpose. So every time there's an opportunity, right, where there strikes an opportunity for share the gospel or to witness or anything like that, it comes right on because you're driving and walking with a purpose. You know what I mean? Every time someone says anything or anything like that, and just speak God or just pray or just any type of conversation. Doesn't matter. I went to Barnes and Noble, went there just to go look for a book or whatever, just sitting there transferring. I think I was looking for The Tactics and I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. So it was those two books that I was searching for, and the lady was because one of them, Tactics, is about I think apologetics, how to defend the gospel and stuff like that and everything, and I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist is more like defending as far as like the scientific stuff and stuff like that of creating and anything more or less like we wouldn't be here, how everything's perfect and created.
I think there's one question that everything pivots on atheism.
What?
Why the evil?
Oh yeah, everybody was asked that.
Why the suffering?
Why the suffering? Yeah.
And I think that's like it's the cheap go-to answer, question.
And everybody asks
anybody's very good question.
Whether it's religion or anything, religious, whether it's God, anything, there's always going to be something that people could just get a cop out reason to not believe or not do it.
Don't forget about the story though.
And I was there speaking to her, right? So I got the books and just around faith, just on faith and everything like that. And I told her like, yeah, I just came down here, moving down Florida, and I end up like walking into my testimony somehow. It was just allowing God to move, and we sitting there talking and what the book's about, me being a believer, how is church and the community, and then I explained my testimony about being a drug addict and stuff like that and everything, and being set free from God and all that. And her son was in the middle, like right now, of being released from a rehab, really struggling with drug and alcohol, and like while she's working, she's bawling. Me and her about like she's crying, I'm choking up. You know what I mean? Like, and we have a line behind us. But the simple fact that I was sensitive because I know I walk every day with the purpose that I was sensitive to see an opportunity to minister to that woman, to share my testimony, to share who God is, that there is a hope, that my mother was in the same situation that she was, hopeless and gave hope and didn't know what to do. But I told her, don't give up, continue to pray for your son. I gave her my number and everything. Like, listen, tell your son to feel free to give me a call. You know what I mean? Because in my head, I'm already thinking, get him connected with the men. Boom, encourage him, drive him, lead him to what it looks like to be set free, to be, a man and to be a leader, to be a father. Like, these are the things I already look into because there's purpose. Without purpose, bro, everything that we do is just like, it's pointless. You know what I mean? I would have walked in there like, yeah, just here for some Christian books and I'm out of here. But in my mind, I'm always seeing and looking for an opportunity, a God moment. Yeah.
Because you're not living for yourself.
No.
I think that's why people kill themselves.
Because they selfish.
They realize that life isn't worth living if it's all for me. But if they don't know that there's a greater purpose to live for, hope, then it's like, well, then why am I here?
Right, yeah. No, that's
absolutely,
right. You're not living for yourself. Yeah, that's good.
There's none, man.
Because, I mean, you could live for yourself for a while, but it gets old.
It does
and you start to realize, like, it's empty.
It's empty, bro. Empty, Everyone's heart is searching, and it's just sad, but I'm glad that God has placed us here. I'm glad that we have a ministry, man, that we're able to shift things and show an example. And like you said, it's easier to just show out and look for the flaws, but I'm glad God placed us in here for a reason and to shift things and to show what it looks like to be leaders, to serve, to be men of God and husbands, you know what I mean, and have God, because it's only through God that we're able to have the revelation on what it is and how to be a father and a husband, so I'm glad for that, man. And I give glory all to God, man, because if it wasn't for him, we won't be here having Iron Man trying to shift things and trying to show men what it is to lead, to have leadership qualities and be reading James and Tytus, you know what I mean? Like, Craig chops it down, bro. Like, this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is the things that we're supposed to be walking out, how we're supposed to do it, when we're supposed to do it. Like, he gets into all of it, And it's like, okay, like, not just here, not just on Sundays, but in our homes. It starts in our homes, you know what I mean? With our children, with our family. At the end of the day, it's like we got to shift that. We got to break that cycle. And I've never knew what it looked like to be a father that had God in the center of it, to lead as God wanted me to lead, or to be a husband where, you know what I mean? I was being pured in not only my bed with pornography and masturbation, but purifying our mattress and our room, you know what I mean? Our relationship with lust. Like, it's all through God that you're able to break all those things that everyone carries in the world,
Yeah.
Because before, those are the things I struggled with.
It's really good though to be around men that you could be transparent with too.
Of course.
I struggled with porn for a long time.
Yeah, bro.
You know, I mean, I still get tempted. You know,
we all do. Yeah.
It's still like it's so easy. It's so easy.
Easy to access.
But without God, though, right? With God, we're able to resist that, right? We're able to walk away from that and have the strength to say no, because He wants us to keep our marriage pure.
That's right. And I think it's like, without God empowering you, because God is love.
Right, come on.
Right? If, like, the reason why I choose, when I'm tempted, not to watch porn is because I love my wife.
I think about my wife.
I love my kids.
Yes.
I don't want them to grow up struggling with an addiction that I had.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I love them that much that I'm going to forego some pleasure.
Yeah.
But without the love that God put in my heart to love them like that, where's the strength to resist?
You couldn't, because it's everywhere. You and I mean, I think even almost even like to the point where you love them so much where you're sacrificing certain things to take up to have roadblocks so you don't even, right? So even when you, again, we all get tempted, right? We all we all men and we all have done it before, so it's still there, right? You still have that
because it was considered normal. It's considered in the world. Masturbation and porn is not an issue. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we don't see how it affects our relationship. We don't see how it affects our intimacy with our spouse. You know what I mean? With our wives. Yeah, it affects and it takes away from our intimacy when we're going and seeking it and finding it and fulfilling it in pornography and masturbation.
And that's probably why another men ain't. And that's probably another reason why a lot of men ain't around. I've come to find out, because I think a lot of men are so like immersed in that it's,
they don't want light shined on their life.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for them to, and I think that's probably one of the biggest struggle with men. I think when it comes,
because we're asking them to shift everything that they lean in their life on.
But when it comes to pornography and masturbation, all that kind of stuff, and when it becomes a lust in women, I think a lot of men want to stay there. And when you
I ain't letting go of that.
So when you're in a group in like Iron Man, where we're like, okay, you trying to call it out and say, no, you could be transparent, like, and you're trying to call that out and say, no, you can't do this, and you're trying to, I think they flee because they really want to be isolated and stay in that. Like it's just hard, and I think it poisons the mind. Like, I mean, we all, like, it poisons the mind so much. I think a lot of men are just in trap. Because I think it's just the images, the pleasure. I think it's it's probably some scientific, like dopamine, right? There's some scientific stuff to it, oxycontin, whatever.
It's the instant gratification to just.
Oxycontin.
It's the instant gratification.
Oxycontin, whatever you know. Oxycontin.
You went from oxycontin to oxycodone.
What is it?
Oxytocin.
I don't even know. I think no, that's right. It's like oxytocin, dopamine, right? You so drugged up. I think it's almost like a chemical drug.
But we live in a time where everything's instant gratification. You know what I mean? Everything's right then and there. You know what I mean? Like, that instant satisfaction. It's like for you to go in there, whack one off, boom, you satisfied. You don't gotta do nothing. You know what I mean? But it comes to a point where, like I said, it robs your intimacy.
I think it's also the way we view church. You know, because it's like,
again,
I want to go to somewhere where I'm going to be served. You know, church.
What can you do for me?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, people come to church as consumers.
Yes.
And preachers are salesmen.
Come on.
Right? And it's like, dang, that's not how it's supposed to be at all.
No.
But regardless on how it's viewed, it's our job what they see when they walk in here. As men, what type of love and unconditional agape love and how they see Jesus through us when they walk in here, bro, that's what matters the most.
Yeah. That's right.
That's how we're able to break things. Like, if you're not
loving people, then, I mean, I don't know what gospel you heard, but that's the fruit.
Yeah.
The fruit of the gospel, the fruit of being in relationship with God, the fruit of good religion is love.
Come on.
And if you're not loving people, like, you probably should check it out, what you actually believe. You know, because, like, in James, man, James is a tough book.
Right.
But he's like, look.
We in it.
Yeah. He's like, look, I'm just saying, if you're not walking out what you say that you believe.
Come on.
If your actions don't align with what your belief system is, then I guarantee you don't believe it.
Come on. That's it.
If you really believed it, you would live it.
That's
absolutely.
I tell my kids all the time. I ask them right now, what I always say. Actions speak louder than words. I'm not saying words are not good, but son, if you tell me you love me, I need to see some action behind that. Like, I need to see that action, right? Even Jesus says it, right? If you love me, you will obey me. And I think you're right. When you talk about love, it's for like, I feel like instead of like, you know how you'd be like reading is fundamental, I feel like loving is fundamental. Like it's
sure.
fundamental to the Christian faith. Like it's the basics of the basics. Like if you can't love, the rest of that stuff is no good. Like you gotta love.
And if you can't love, you probably need to be delivered. You need to be saved in some areas of life. Like there's reasons why people don't love, and they might love God and want Jesus, but the thing is that sometimes you got to be delivered from hurts and things like that, because you know when people have hurt you over and over and over again, it's hard to let the walls down to even start loving people.
So that's why even for men that walk in here, like, because we got to see, you know, for everyone that's watching, and for men that might be watching now, we want to make sure that we not only, you know, talk about these things, but give you know, encouraging words for people that have that fatherless life, that don't know what it looks like. That's one. And another thing, even for men that come to church and come and go, or not really get involved or serve and stuff like that, the only thing that we can encourage is things of surrendering, because like you said, sometimes we don't really want to do it because we hold on to certain things, but to really surrender yourself and surrender your life for God to really move in it, you know what I mean? So one thing I want to ask for sure is, for anyone that might be watching, what we one, you know, thing that you would say to that person that's living a life that doesn't have a father example of what it is to lead with God, you know what I mean? So what would you say right now?
Oh, what would I say for a person?
Anyone, someone like, that doesn't have that example.
That doesn't have that example right now, man. That doesn't have that father role model to show what it is to walk in the ways of the Lord.
What would I say to them? Oh man, I had to ask them a few questions first. I don't know what I would say to them off the top. I guess if I had to say something to them that doesn't have a father figure or someone, I think I would have to really just point them to God or point them to Jesus. I think, and let them know that there is a heavenly Father, right? Even though your earthly father hasn't been there,
there's a heavenly Father.
There's a heavenly Father that's there, that can comfort you, that can console you, that can take away the pain, that can take away the hurt, that's not gonna leave you. That's not gonna.
What does that look like? That's such a mystical saying.
I know. It's just I don't, and that's why I said I don't know what I would say directly to the person, because I would have to. Again, I think so.
It takes the Holy Spirit moving
and it takes. So here, I want to say this, and I think again, and this is what I'm learning for myself. It's easy for us to like throw theology and throw things at them, but I think really at the end of the day, I have to have a relationship with that person, right? I can't. It's hard for me to know what to say if I don't have a relationship with that individual, right?
All right. What about a man that's coming to church, right, or comes once in a blue?
Wait, I wanna speak to the last one though.
Go ahead.
Before we go there.
Run it.
Go ahead. Okay.
The first thing I thought was you got to encourage yourself.
Okay.
Because I mean that there is a scripture that says, you know, David, when he encouraged himself in the Lord. And I think even if you don't know God, like whether you're like, oh, I don't think God is real, you know, or you're like, well, he might be out there, but I mean,
we witness him. We're here to testify that
I don't
he is.
know what God looks like as father, because I never had a father.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, so it's like, I don't even know what that looks like. What the heck does that mean? God is my father. What does that mean? You know?
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, well, maybe God wants to father me. Maybe God doesn't exist. But unless you encourage yourself, which there's not much to encourage without God.
We just here to encourage that there is hope and that there is a heavenly Father. That's what one way. If anything, let's just leave it on that platform. That regardless on the life that you may have lived, right, or the way that you're living as a father or as a husband, right, in your home and household, right, no matter where you're at, right, that there is hope, right, that there is a right way to do things, that there is a godly way to do things that produces fruit. That shifts things in your home, that makes more a peace, makes to a place where there's more love in your home. You know what I mean? Like it shifts things. Like I know sometimes in a worldly way, there might be a lot of chaotic things that's going on in the household. You know what I mean? A lot of anger, rage, frustration, bickering, fighting, cheating. You know what I mean? Lusting in other ways. You know what I mean? And a lot of lies. You know what I mean? A lot of adultery, whatever it may be. There's a lot of. You know what I mean? Inside of a household. So if anything, that as kingdom men, that there is a way that we can surrender our homes, our marriages, even our lives to God, to make it into a way where he shifts things and produces fruit in a different way in our family. You know what I mean? Like there is a better way to do things. You know what I mean? There is a better way to lead, a better way to love, and that's through Jesus. You know what I mean? So it's like there might be people out there that don't know that there's hope and that there is a better way, the right way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't know that there's something like that out there. So if anything, we're here to encourage that there is. That's the word of God, and that's through Jesus Christ that we're able to shift things and change that generational curse of that fatherless generation, and to have an example. Remember, these are instructions.
Yeah.
If you want instructions and an example on how we should lead your homes and to be a father and to be a husband, dig into that word.
Get in that word.
Get into that word. That word is everything.
You know what I mean?
The Bible. That leaves everything right there in perfect fine print and example on how we should be living and operating. For sure.
So Zach, I just want I don't want to leave. And as I was thinking about what you were saying,
got to leave with something. They got to be able to leave out of here with something.
But I want to say this because I know we're focusing on the husband and the father, right? I mean, husbands and fathers, right? So I don't want to leave my single men out, right? So because I want to hit them because I think this is important too for my single men, for those who don't have kids, who not a husband. I think even what we're talking about applies to them. Prepare yourself now. Be pure now.
Yes.
Leave the porn alone now, right? Like, prepare yourself to be a godly man now. So when you are a father, when you are a husband, you're already prepared to be that. So here's what I'm saying. As a single man, this is what you need to do. As a single man, you need to be around other cats or other dudes that are husbands, who are fathers, who are living godly lives, and you need to be around them so you can have an example. So if anything, Again, if you're fatherless, and again, if you don't have the physical earthly person, you can at least cling or get along somebody who is a father, who is a husband. You can glean from them, right? Now you can
have an example.
You can have an example, right? Like even like Paul said, right? Follow me as I follow Christ. So as he's close to them, he can see and prepare himself. Because that's another downfall. As a lot of us are just not prepared for it.
That's right.
So we searching for the right one, but not being the right one.
That's right. So we get married, we have kids, we ain't know what to do. But I'm saying, I think we'll save a lot of time and a lot of that when we talking about that curse, if we just now, as single men and single women, but we talking about men, but single men, prepare ourselves for those things. Leave those things alone now, because what happens, you're going to get married.
It's going to carry right
over.
Have
all that stuff going that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not a very attractive proposition to the single men.
Walking this life is never going to be an attractive proposition. You got to surrender your life and your ways.
I mean, here's the thing. Like, when you're a young man, you want to live it up. You want to have fun. Why grow up when it's too fun to be a kid?
Because I live my life that same way and it got me nowhere. I'm here to tell you that right now.
I think because
it gets you nowhere.
I know what you're saying. Like, why become a man when it's easy to just be a boy, right?
I mean, that's kind of derogatory to the people that might listen and say, I'm here to party and stuff. I'm not a kid. Well, you are a kid, right? But I mean, let's just put that aside. But
right, I know what you're saying. I got you. But I'm saying, I think that you're funny, bro. Like, so I think so. When you why is it not attractive? So I think again, you have to ask the man or the single person. You know what I'm saying? As a man, like, really, what do you want? Like,
or ask any woman, is being a man of God or a godly man attractive or not?
No, I think God, but I think even asking a man, like, what does he want? Like, what do you desire? Like, because here's the thing.
Partying is getting old.
But I think even like I tell my people,
it definitely gets old.
But I think even just like I tell my people, just like even at work, like, what do you want with desire? Like, are the things that the actions that you're taking gonna get you where you want to be, right? Because I think,
but there's no compass where they don't even know where they want to go.
I mean, I think a lot of people think it's gonna fall into their lap.
That's what I'm saying. I think but that's why but again, that's why us who's doing it may even need to, I want to say forcibly grab somebody, but you may need to like say, hey, bro, I need you to just, I need you to just come. Like, again, I think it goes back to relationship building. I think you need to come over here. Let me show you how this is done. Right? I think even Paul talked about in Tytus, right? The older men teach the younger men.
I would have loved to have somebody at church be like, hey, let me show you what this is.
That's what I'm saying. We're not doing it.
I wanted it. And even I was like timidly.
But was there an example though?
There was a couple, but they weren't interested.
That's because they're not being, again, because they're not thinking of, again, because they don't see church as an extension of the home. So if I see a young man or young brother, I should be the same example for him as his father. So here's the thing. It's so funny how we say like people don't do that. It's so weird how we do things in the world, but when it comes to church, we don't do it. Gangbangers do it.
For sure.
Like people in the world do it. Hey, you want to know? Hey, you want to be a real estate logo? Hey, come here. Let me mentor you on how to be a real estate person. Hey, you want to be a business person? Come here. Let me show you. Like everybody in the world do it. Gang members do it. Hey, you want to be a gang? Hey, come here. Let me show you how to do this. How to be out here. Right? Come on. You was in the world. People just come, they just grab you and say, hey, yo, come. But we come to church. We come in this world. And it's like
we shrivel up.
We don't want to do nothing. We like. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to intrude.
That's not me.
I don't want to intrude.
That's
I don't
not
want
what
to
I
be.
do.
I don't want to be, evasive. I don't want to hurt their. I don't want to be, gotta deal with it. Let me just pray for them and hope they change, right? Like, let me just pray for them, and they gonna just change instead of being like having some kind of, again, as a man, hey, come here. Let me show you how to do this. Let me walk you through this walk. I see you struggling, having that relationship. So I think. We do this we just do this on a normal. You a painter, right? How you learn how to paint?
Someone had to teach me.
Come on, bro. Come on.
Boom.
You a painter too, right? Who taught you how to paint?
Since I came down here.
But somebody taught you though.
Jesse. Yeah.
Let me show you how to. Come on. This is not hard stuff. We just making it difficult because I think once we add God to the picture.
It's like we were like, well, he'll show you.
There you go. Right. We're like, oh, well, God.
But
right.
little do we know that they need us for God. Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Come on, bro.
He works through us.
Through
right?
us.
Right.
We're the instruments for his will, right?
We're the instruments. He prepare you for the workmanship. You're prepared. You're equipped for the work. He's worked through you. You, me. Like that's how he do it.
So we need men to give God their yes. We need men to surrender their lives completely.
Say yes. Okay.
Say yes. So we need them to surrender. We need to just have them not be.
And surrender means everything.
Not just
submit, yes.
Submit all the way. Submit. There's no hold. Like, Lord, I'm gonna give you this
stuff.
I thought
the gospel was free. I thought the gospel was free. Why I gotta surrender everything? If
surrender your life, surrender your life into a way where it's like, you know what, I'm not living for me no more. It's not a selfless walk. It's not a selfish walk no more. You know what I mean? It's not about me no more. It's not about me no more.
Come
Lord,
on.
just use me. It's about you. This is the least that I can do for you for the things that you've done for me.
Come on.
And you can't experience and encounter the same God I have and stay the same.
Right. Jesus says he redeemed you. You know what the word redeem means?
Cash in.
Cash in. Bought back.
Boom.
You know what that mean? That mean you his.
Shit.
If he bought you, that means he bought you from somewhere. That means you used to be in one place. He bought you. Now you belong to him. So that means
Because from that place he bought me from,
right, was no good. Right.
in a cell block or a casket.
That place was buns. That was between buns.
Telling you, bro. So that's why it's like, you know what, Lord? Like, I shouldn't even be here. And the simple fact that I'm breathing and got air in my lungs, I live it for you.
Let's go.
And that's how he's able to show me, because it's me giving him my yes, that he's able to give me these visions and these assignments to know that we need to shift things and break things among the men. Yeah. And to see that there's such a lack of it, and to see that there's something that not only somebody that should do something, but that I need to do something.
Come on.
That God needs to do something through me. You know what I mean? And it's all from giving my yes. Lord, I surrender my life to you. So if anything, man, I would love for the men to really just surrender their lives to the Lord and pick up your cross and give God your yes. If you're tapping in and you're going here and you're not feeling that fire, that passion, or hearing from God, then surrender and just submit yourself to his ways, man. And just be like, you know what, Lord, I give my life to you now. I'm going to give you my yes and pick up my cross and watch how God moves. But to see, the thing is that instant gratification, right? But if we don't see God move in a day or two, we just back in our old ways. You know what I mean? How many years people waited in the Bible? Years and years for something to manifest or something to happen.
Abraham
or to receive
waited for a long time.
To receive promises. We can't even wait 6 months to a year.
Come on, man.
Bro, I had so many blessings in my life, bro, within the last year. Well, I've been saved for 2 years, right? So within the last year, really submitting myself and really surrendering. Like in the first year, it was like, I'm going to give you some of this and that, but that's it. But me coming down here and being used and being served and stuff like that in the ministry and being connected, I've able to surrender myself more, and God has been able to just continue to move in a mighty way and show off over my life.
Come on.
And it's all from giving him my yes and surrendering. That's it. And I've been blessed with a beautiful family, a kid on the way, married to a beautiful woman, got beautiful brothers and sisters in church, around with kids and people that I love and care for, in a place that I knew nothing about in Melbourne, Florida. And it's only through God, bro. Like, I got brothers like y'all, sisters like this in this church, you know what I mean? A pastor like me.
And it's amazing that we're a family that's interconnected with other families too. You know, like growing up, my church wasn't associated with any other church. 'Cause we wanted to be the church.
Right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's like we got a group here that's connected. Like you're connected with another group.
I'm connected with 3 different ministries.
I'm connected with
in
other
Florida.
ministries. They're connected with, you know what I'm saying? And it's like now it's like this is what it's supposed to be. Is
Yes.
we're all a body, but we have different groups and we kind of interplay and we work together.
Yeah.
You know.
But this
we're
is my home. This is
connected.
where I'm rooted, because you got to get rooted somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
LightSeekers is where I'm rooted at. LightSeekers is where I go to church every Sunday, serve, build, continue to love on one another, encourage. Like you said, like I'm rooted here. You know what I mean? But my yes is wherever God leads me to. You know what I mean? Like this, Lord, you're leading me here to serve here, to do here. Amen. But I'm rooted here. You know what I mean? Sometimes we don't want to be rooted because we don't like to be proved, sanctified, and processed. And after a while, when you're rooted somewhere, things will start to come into light as you walk it out. And
Yeah, that's
people
true.
don't like to face those things. So that's why
true.
they just go everywhere, because as soon as something starts being revealed about themselves, they're like, things are being highlighted about myself, I'm gonna dip out.
Yeah.
Yo, I had this one pastor in Colorado. He was like, I had somebody come new to the church. I'm like, well, glad you're here and everything. So is this your, like, what's your history? And they're like, well, we came from this church over here. He's like, oh, you're coming from a different church. And he's like, yeah. So, but, you know.
Right, yeah.
you
Things
know,
ain't
but
work
we're
out.
here now. So he's like, okay, let me call your pastor. So he calls the pastor talking about, hey, you got your, you know.
He called him?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Got your sheep over here. So what's going on? And I don't know all the details and stuff, but he was like, well, yeah, you need to go back to your church.
You need to deal with these things.
Don't
you know
run
what I mean?
away from what
Yeah.
you're running from.
Yeah,
Go
that's
back
right.
to your church. You're welcome here, but unless you leave there and he blesses you to leave, like, don't run.
No.
Yeah, that's right.
You're gonna
Go-
face that same mountain in this church.
Yeah,
Either way,
yeah.
God's gonna continue to just have you walk around
That's
that
a
same
theme
mountain.
in life.
What
you
that sound?
know,
I was about to say that. What that
people
sound like
do
a
that all the
relationship,
time.
right?
Yep.
This person ain't.
Because they holding on to the same ways, their old ways.
Come
They're
on.
not shifting things. They're not changing. They're not surrendering. They're not following the instruction that God has laid out to
Well,
us.
and they
Yeah,
not
yeah.
changing, right? I mean, when people go to relationship, like when somebody just go in a relationship, like people who've been married multiple times and go relate, that's a sign. Like I heard a saying that the same storm that's in Florida, there's gonna be a storm in Texas. There's gonna be a storm in California. Like you can move all you want. Like
Doesn't matter.
there's gonna be a storm there. Like there's gonna be rain. So I think again, what you're saying, like when you're rooted somewhere and you're sitting somewhere, like people run from the conflict, like because I think again they don't really understand what love is.
But that's your ability to show how forgiving you are, how loving you
Right,
are
that's-
when you come against situations when you're offended or people are offended by you, or you're offended, or jealousy or slander
Yeah.
or gossip. How can you really forgive, or how much can you really love? You know
Right,
what I
yeah.
mean? How much can you really show grace? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's in those situations that we're able to continue to grow in Christ and
Yeah, yeah.
continue to have our patience, our love, and have the fruit of the Spirit continue to grow and continue to exercise those things, because without situations, we're not able to exercise our forgiveness, our patience, our loving.
You won't run if life is not about you.
Right. Yes.
If you're living for yourself, then doesn't matter who you run from or what situation you run from.
That's true.
But the problem is that you're really trying to run from you.
Right, but you can't run from you. That's one thing my dad did to me. He was like, hey, you can't run from yourself. Like, no matter where you go, you're going to be you. So if you move states, if you go somewhere else, like, you still going to be you. You still got to deal with you still going to have to deal with who you are, right?
Yeah.
So if you move, well, a lot of people run and they move, you still got to deal with you. And I think when it comes to we're talking about men, a lot of men just don't want to deal with themselves. It's everyone else's fault but them.
Absolutely.
Everyone
It's
else to
always
blame.
quick to play the victim role. It's easier to play the victim role and blame it on somebody else. You know what I mean? It's
Everybody's a victim, though.
Yeah.
But everybody is also an oppressor. You're both at the same time. I mean, there's ways that you've been victimized, no matter who you are.
That's true.
But there's also ways that you've oppressed.
Somebody.
And I mean, if you want to pick a side, you might as well pick the one that you can do something about.
The oppressing, you can
Yeah,
change. Yeah,
you can change that. I mean, you can't necessarily always change being a victim, but you can change what you do about it.
Yeah.
You can change how you treat other people.
You can shift things after you get offended, how you respond, right? Or how you offend others, and how you be careful and sensitive and walk it out and loving and graceful and forgiving. You got to shift those things. You got to change
If you're
those
prone
things.
to being offended, you're selfish.
Bro, people catch offense like it's nothing. They say, "Oh, I'm gonna grab that. I want to be offended, so I'm gonna catch that offense in the air and I'm gonna hold on to it."
Yeah.
You know, and it creates bitterness, and then it's causing division, and it's like there's so many things that happens. But it's like for you to have a lens of the Father when you see that you've offended someone or that you're offended. You not only just like come to them and approach them and just do it with love and stuff like that. You also forgive them. You know what I mean? And you shift things, and now you're showing what an example is. You're seeing an opportunity to show what it is to come against each other. Where it's like, you know what, bro, I was offended, but I forgive you. I'm sorry, or I'm sorry if I offended you. You know, and it's just like that. You gotta have the Father's heart in every situation.
And men gotta be that example. So I think when you talk about men and like we have to be that. I think as you know, there's one thing I always try to tell myself, it kind of same thing with what Nate was saying, but even in my own household, like, I have to say I'm sorry. I have to apologize. Like, I can't always be right in a situation. Like,
that's that pride. The pride stops you from saying sorry.
Even me as a father, I sometimes gotta go to my daughter and say, hey, you know what? I'm sorry for yelling. I shouldn't have yelled. Hey, I'm sorry for, my son, hey, I'm sorry. Like, because I have to be, again, the same thing in the house, staying here. I gotta be vulnerable. I gotta be right. I gotta be the same. I can't be different.
The same platform.
And I think that's another thing that's when you talk about men, and even you talk about church. If someone has a man in the house and they are churched, that's what a lot of men are seeing. Christian men who may be Christian or churched, they've fallen away or they're not coming to church because their father wasn't faithful or consistent, or like it was just a Sunday thing. So even if their father is a pastor or their father is a minister or a deacon, they only see it on Sunday, but in church or at home, it's not lived out. So they see him preaching one thing, right? He not practicing what he preaching, or he not preaching what he practiced. He doing one thing, right?
It's a huge problem.
That's a huge problem. And then now they at the crib, they don't see the same thing. Like, okay, Dad, who was that? Like, okay, you out here being two different people. You preaching one thing and you. So here's the thing. I should never go up there and preach and my son be like, yo, where that came from?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Like, I ain't never heard you say that. So if I'm preaching, really, he should just be like, yeah, I heard him say that before. Yeah, I seen him say, okay,
that's how it go down in the house.
That's how I go down the crib. Like, it should never be two different people. No. I should never be two different people. And I think that's what's keeping men from the church, because they're seeing men live two different lives.
Yeah. And you also should be able to bring the mess into the transparency when you meet with the guys.
Right.
Like, the one time I came and I was having problems with my neighbor.
Yeah.
And like,
I remember. Yeah,
I see it all over me. But I was just like, I'm not here for me. I don't want to talk about my problems.
Right.
We was not going through that whole Bible study with you looking the way you were.
And I wasn't trying to look like nothing, but I was pissed.
You definitely was.
I remember that, yeah.
But like, even though like y'all were like, come on though, this is what it's for, so I was all right. Okay.
Boom.
This is what's happening.
Right.
And like, I didn't get all like I knew what I needed to do about it. It's not like I needed answers. Just getting it off my chest really helped. Even like some guys were like, hey, if you had to shoot him, you had to shoot him.
Right.
That's not the answer, man. That's not what I'm going for.
Which is fine, but like you said, at least you said it, and the cats was like, all right, at least, you know what I'm saying? If you got to just shoot, which is not the right answer. But
I'm like, nah, man.
No, but you did get like five crazy answers.
But it's all good.
It was a lot of people there.
It was good encouragement, because I was like, hey, if I got to do it, I got to do it.
He said,
but the simple fact that we created that platform where it was like, you know what, we encouraged the transparency to let it out, bro. If anything, we always encourage that in the Iron Man, for people to just come in there, whatever is on their heart, whatever it may sound hard. Perfect example, Marcel comes in there, transparent, letting it out like, yo, this is what I'm struggling with, this is where I'm at, and we always want to create that atmosphere.
Yeah, and it was also good that the idea of having that group was like, no women here,
right,
and everything that's said here stays here
for sure.
And that's important too,
because people can easily try to grab that transparency and vulnerability and use it against them. And
that's
like,
why women can't have groups. No, I'm just kidding.
No, because stop.
Funny.
But no, all due respect, because now you being transparent, right? You being transparent to me and me gossip about it or whatever, and speaking among other brothers and stuff like that, and judging you, and then lifting myself up above you because you was transparent, like, oh,
that's right.
You know what I mean? And then now it's like, wow, I just try to be a transparent moment with you, and it's like, and you do, and now it's like you keep everything to yourself now. Now you holding all that in darkness. Now you're not bringing nothing to the light because you feel that you're going to be judged for it.
That's right.
So it's like, no, we want to make sure that we create that atmosphere where it's like whatever's spoken here. stays
and
here.
And I think even like to that point, like you said, like being trans, but like we don't even care if people, you know what I'm saying, come in any kind of, like you come out, you are like, you high, you drunk, it don't matter, like, because at the end of the day, like we know our God is more powerful, right? We know that Christ is more powerful. So it don't matter how you come in. Like you just won't lead the same.
Not at all.
But you can come in how you want, because I don't want you to ever think that, hey, again, I think this is again going back to the men's situation of being weak and being transparent and vulnerable. It's not a manly thing. That it is manly for you to be transparent. It is manly for you to be weak, right? And your weakness, he is strong. So I think it is manly for you to be a weak person. But in your weakness and your humility, like you're the strongest you can possibly be. You're the strongest you can ever be, because now God can use that. He can use that weakness. He can use that trend. Now you're exposing yourself to, like, now you're actually shining brighter than you ever, because, like, again, like you said, like when I let it out and I exposed to the light, now he's like, okay, boom. Like, okay, Zach, you ready?
There's a fundamental transformation that happens inside.
Yeah.
That changes not only your perspective, but it's like the plane that you walk on, you transcend to a whole different level.
When you just let it, when you be weak, and it's so crazy. Like I know it's the craziest thing you ever seen.
Man, like we know that, we understand that, you know what I mean, and that's why we always try to bring it there. That's why we always try to introduce that and be sensitive to understand how it is to be there and what it feels like to really let it out and be outspoken and to just let it go, where it's like, you know what, guys, I feel safe enough among here to just tell you what I'm struggling with. You know,
rock with it. Let's go.
And you have to be sensitive to those things, man, because there's so much men that just been so much hurt and so much things that's gone in their lives where they just feel like they have to hold everything, man. And it's a beautiful thing when you see men come in there, really just release it and be set free.
They gotta be a man. You know?
Yeah, and just.
A man.
But we do it by setting an example on what it looks like, you know, and we always do it, you know, and we always sharing about the transparency and being vulnerable, and that encourages. It really does encourage the other man to really just be like, you know what, I'm struggling with that too.
I'll be in here crying, bro, like brawling. You know what I'm saying? You gotta look, you cry, man. Look, Jesus cried. Look, Jesus wept.
Craig had me crying the other day, last Tuesday.
Oh yeah, no, but yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So
that wasn't a good reason, bro, to cry.
But still,
I think that's a good look.
It's definitely a good reason.
Let me tell you, look, whatever. Look, we cry. Look, cry all the time.
We have different thresholds.
I mean, look,
I'm
I watch,
sensitive.
like I watch. Look, you know, I watch me like I be balling. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter, but it don't, like, it doesn't make you lesser of a man, like just because you dropping.
I cry sometimes when I pray for certain brothers. That's in the same pain and that I see in bondage, and like when I'm praying, like I cry sometimes even when I pray.
I think it's coming from like a place of compassion.
Of course, because you got a heart of the
If
Father.
you got tears from compassion, that's a beautiful thing.
That's what I'm saying.
If you got tears from just being weak and ugly, like.
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean, like weak and ugly?
I don't know, like when you're just in a really low place and you're just crying.
Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Like,
you gotta just let it out.
You need help.
No, you need Jesus.
Right.
You do.
But you be watching certain movies. You know what I'm saying? You cry. I mean, look, I cry.
I cried.
The Notebook, I cried.
I cried. The Notebook too.
I cried the Notebook.
Come on.
I did.
Stop playing, bro.
What?
Stop playing.
He just love. He don't know. He don't know.
Come on, bro.
No,
Stop
I
playing.
dropped, man. Look, come on, the way they died together.
What do you
Come
want,
on.
Zach?
How many
Huh?
tears?
What do you
How
want?
many tears? I dropped I cried like probably like through the whole movie, bro. Like,
No.
I think it was after like when he started building the mansion, a little bit around that area when she came back.
No, when they died together though. When he
stop. Come on,
When they
bro.
died, I was like, yes, the movie's over.
Stop,
See, this guy
bro.
he's too much.
Come on, man.
Nah, man. Hey,
Have you seen? Okay, so have you seen Fireproof?
Yeah.
I cried on that too. Man,
It's okay. It's okay.
It's hard to cry to Christian movies, man. They're usually pretty.
I mean, every now and then you get a little.
Yo, The Chosen though, that show is official.
I mean, I probably cried on that too. I
you seen
mean,
the
I
show?
haven't really watched the whole.
Oh man, have you seen it? It's really good.
But yeah,
It's a beautiful thing.
Good.
dang, are you?
But I feel towards like
I cried
God.
to an anime like a month ago.
An anime?
Say you
yeah.
over here talking about Notebook. Get out of here,
No,
bro.
it's
Get
from
outta here.
like it's a while back, and it's actually about
anime?
Yeah, it's about this chick in Japan.
It's okay.
When
I mean, obviously it's an
when
anime, but I mean, that's
Hiroshima
fine.
got bombed, bro. And it was like but it's old, you know. It's showing the life of the Japanese.
When's the
people.
last time you cried?
I'm probably then. No.
No. When's the last time you cried,
No,
bro?
the last time I cried was a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And my wife and I, we were talking about some deep stuff, you know, about just the way that we see things, the way we see each other and interact, and I don't want to put her out there.
It's
No,
fine.
that's
No,
fine.
no.
But
I just wanted to know when's the last time you cried. That's
we
all.
both went to a very vulnerable place.
Yeah.
Amen.
I cried this morning, but that's fine.
Okay. I think I
What
cried
were you
Sunday
crying for
morning.
This morning.
Because I was having a conversation with my children and my son.
You see?
So
It's okay.
we were having a conversation with my son, and he was just, we were just talking about something. He was kind of feeling a certain way, and then I started crying a little bit. But I mean,
No, I think it's good to cry. I personally, I think I don't cry as much as others. I
But
think I have
I've
a
never
different
cried.
threshold.
I think I cried twice in my 30 years as an adult, as a man, and I've cried more the last 2 years than I probably ever did in my whole life.
because your heart is softened.
Yeah,
Because
it's softened.
Jesus softened in that heart,
Soften
bro. That's
that heart,
it.
bro.
And
I
those-
score very high on the psychopathy exam.
So that mean like you like.
I have low empathy. Like I have compassion, but it's all from God. I don't without Jesus. Without Jesus, I don't know if I
Yo,
am able to empathize.
do you hold the door open for people?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I'm trying to
No,
find your level.
I
Like,
have moral compass.
joking, I'm joking.
Like, no,
but
I
you
mean,
just
I
more like
care.
up here.
I mean, I'm very detached from emotion. So, I mean, I can be very emotional, but I have to like change into that mode of feeling. I'm usually in my.
I think people who have a lot of passion, like you see how you get like a lot. I think those people are more like emotional, they're heartfelt. Like you see how that's why he's saying he cried all the time. But
I think it's because y'all are more integrated. For me, it's like being on a
God really
logical
softened my heart,
flow
like-
and on a emotional flow. They're not really integrated in me, so I kind of will flop back.
Oh, so yes,
Like I'll be like straight faced in worship, playing the bass, and be like, like the next moment, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, they're
Yeah,
not
no,
the
no,
same.
no.
Like you're not. So you don't.
I'll
So,
like change
see, okay, I see what you're
to
saying.
a different realm.
See, I'm all like, so I'm like both. So like as I'm thinking, like as it's coming in and I'm thinking about it, it's causing me. So like so if I'm thinking about like Jesus down the cross, right? Like as I'm thinking about the thought of that, it's like I'm
Feeling it.
feeling it. Yeah, I'm
That's
feeling it.
incredible.
Yeah.
What you mean?
I don't know.
Like, yeah.
Can't really do that.
Like if you
Just
like
sharing, just think about your testimony, your history, and where you was and where God. Like that's in itself.
selfish. Like, I'm not
yeah,
gonna drop
but
tears.
to me,
I
it's
dropped tears twice on this thing.
It's just a bunch of facts to me until
it's the emotion that come with it. Like even when you're worshiping, like when I'm worshiping in the shower, singing, like I end up crying. You know what I mean? Like it's just like Lord, like you don't understand. You know what I mean? It's this place where it's just like you've been so broken before, and it's just like for me, I think it's just from a place of gratitude.
Yeah, I'd be crying.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that I don't like even
Exactly.
with
It's okay.
Even
It's
with
all
my
right.
neighbor. Like I was in the shower and I was like, God, help me, because like if he was gonna try and fight me, I might shoot the guy. I don't want to kill him.
So you was crying then?
No, but it wasn't like that. I was like, I don't want to kill him. I don't want this to end up with one of us dead. What can I do? And I was like, God, I want to see him the way that you see him.
That's right.
And so in that moment, he gave me revelation of how
Boom.
he saw him.
And
And in
that's
that
what
moment,
I'm
I was like, that's when I bawled. I cried
Okay,
hard.
that's
So I
right.
was like, oh, man,
Come on.
I'm so freaking selfish. I'm over here thinking about a man, another man. We're just men in this situation. I didn't see the little boy that didn't have a father. I didn't see the little
Right,
boy
with the-
that got somebody pregnant and now is trying to learn how to work it all out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't see none of that. I just saw this a-hole that was coming up at 3 a.m. telling me I'm making too much noise.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I got
With a
you.
knife on his thing, like. And so I'm like, but God changed my perspective.
I got you. That's
And so
good.
that's for me, it's like, I think it has a lot to do with perspective. I think my perspective, I think I'm usually coming from a logical
Yeah.
perspective. And when I change to intentionally try and feel, then that's when I
Like
feel.
when God, because I think that's God.
That's God.
saying you gotta feel it. Like he wants you to feel.
My feelings are not well integrated with my logic.
That's all right.
That's
Well,
good.
we pray and hope that this whole situation was able to even bless somebody, even with try to like understand a little bit more, even as coming
Are
from
you
a
closing
place.
this podcast?
No, I'm just saying.
I was like, dang.
No.
Like, we done swap.
No,
What time is it right now?
I don't know, but I want to make
He
sure.
done went from being on he done being a guest to being a host. I'm like, dang, how you do that?
He's like, well, it was
Because
great
you know why?
talking with you
Because
all.
he felt it. See, he was speaking from the heart. He felt the sense of the curtain coming down, the closing of it. So that's why
it's not only that. We got to make sure, because remember, this whole point of this whole podcast, even if you title it, is the fatherless generation and the lack of men in the church. So,
I just titled it Season 1, Episode 4.
That's what you did? Yeah. Oh my God. Amen. Well, episode 4, whatever it may be, may have blessed anyone that was struggling on leading and being the father and the husband that they needed to be, and encourage some men that are really not just all in and just struggling with really surrendering it all, man, and committing.
That's another topic, but
that is a whole.
And it's okay
topic.
to cry though.
It's definitely okay to cry, even if you watch Notebook.
So let's I'm gonna say that real quick. Crying, right? But it is something. So I do have to kind of say this. So there's one thing, like, I try to figure out how to do this when it comes to crying and my children and my sons, right? Especially.
That's an emotional moment, bro.
I know, but I be trying to, like. So here's the thing, as a father, where I really try to find that balance. Like, yo, it's okay to cry, bro. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't cry. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes, like, hey, man, there's a moment and a time to cry. Yeah. So I think that's where I'm trying to. So as a dad, where I'm trying to tame them and say, son, this is not the time to cry. Like, don't cry because I'm making you eat your vegetables and you don't want to eat your vegetables. Like, that's not the time to cry.
Or it's 9 o'clock and you're.
You know what I do is I say it's 100% okay to cry, but it's not okay to whine.
Okay.
Because you can get hit emotionally to a point where it's like, I can't hold back from crying. But what do I see myself in this situation? Am I gonna be here hurt and stay a victim, or am I gonna overcome?
Oh, so when you say whine, you mean like in the midst of the crying, like
I can tell when between my son crying eat my vegetables and whining. You know?
Okay.
So like when he's crying, I'm like, hey, it's okay that you cry.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right. Maybe okay.
It's okay. Cry it out. You know what I'm saying? But when he whines, I'm like, hey, stop it.
Okay.
Stop whining.
Okay. I just say, look, okay, because I might take some of that. I like that. Like, it's not okay to whine, but it's okay to cry. Because like you said, you may get the overwhelming feeling of crying, so you just like let it out.
Yeah.
But hey, all right, cry it out, get it out. It's over. Now let's move on. Okay, I like that. I might steal that.
Or just make sure you have the number.
It's the same as what you were saying, just in a different context.
But I like that.
There's a time and a place for crying, not for whining.
But at the same time, I think what you're saying, like, so let's say he's eating the vegetables, right? And he's crying because he doesn't want to eat the vegetables.
That's why.
But he's not saying anything. But he feels the overwhelming pressure, like, or he or she like feels overwhelmed, like, oh, I just want to cry because I really don't want to do this, right?
I don't want to eat my vegetables.
Yeah,
I really don't want to eat my food, right?
You can cry for that, yeah. But as soon as you go, then it's stop.
Okay.
Stop it. Huh. You could cry. Don't whine.
I feel like those are kind of like in it, but I can see that.
I think there's a difference, and I think.
Let Holy Spirit lead you to be sensitive to have discernment.
Okay. Which one is which.
To see which
one's
which
one's which?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Maybe. He's very expressive. He's extremely expressive. So like I could tell.
Okay.
Usually what's going on.
I gotta figure that out, the whining and the crying situation. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on my dad skills. See, I'm working on my dad skills. I'm not 100%. I'm trying to. Cause I think we could be doing and saying a lot of things to our children. We don't really know. We just like, you know what I'm saying, or screaming or yelling. Cause sometimes I'll do that. You know what I'm saying? And I just like man, like I really shouldn't scream. I should really.
But we're always growing. We're always becoming better fathers.
But I be thinking like maybe I
should
just probably talk to him in this moment. Maybe I shouldn't really scream or yell. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes it's okay to raise your voice, but that shouldn't be a go-to. You know?
No, and a lot of times it's not. Or sometimes what I'll do, I'll wait until it. So I didn't like kill it, and I waited to blow up, and then I snap. Right then I go off because I should have dealt with it
as it happened.
As it was happening instead of like letting it go, and then I boom.
Right, and I think that's also where it comes down to like, are we parenting for our convenience, or is it to grow them?
That's right. That's a good one. That's a whole other subject.
And it's easy because it's like
a lot of subjects.
It's so easy to go into like, I had a long day at work. I'm tired. I just want to chill. I don't need all this extra crazy stuff right now. And it's like, I don't want to have to deal with kids. Oh, wow. But it's like, well, what about like, their childhood is so short.
That's true.
And this moment that you have with your kid, instead of being on your phone, instead of relaxing, be intentional in that moment, you know? And I have to tell myself that all the time because what ends up happening a lot of times is they go to bed and then I'm thinking about like something I want to show my son or something like a conversation I want to have or something. I'm like, well, dang, he's sleeping.
I actually don't really think like that. But I'm just let you know, when they go to bed, I don't really be thinking about that. I be like, yo, they to bed. I'm good. It's quiet. I really don't be thinking like, yo, I really wanted to show him something. Maybe because you had two.
No, but I think the reason sometimes is because I remember like I was on my phone for like 15 minutes or like half an hour, and my son was right there. You know what I'm saying? I was over here, and not like, oh, I'm just doing something flippant, like important things, you know.
Right.
But it's like I could have done that now.
No.
while
Right.
He was sleeping,
That's good. That's
you know?
true. That's true. Being attention. That's good. That's good though. But hey, when they be asleep though, I be like, yo, it's quiet. I be sitting still in the dark, like, yo, it's just quiet. Shh.
Don't talk. Don't talk.
That's where I be at. So you gotta get on your be still moment. Hey, peace, be still. Like that's what I be on. Like as soon as they be asleep, I be like.
And then one starts crying, you're like, I don't hear it.
I'm like, he'll go back to bed. He'll go back to bed. He'll stop. He can't cry forever. He can't. Look, that's how. Hey, look, he can't cry for 20 minutes in. I hear him. He winding down. I hear he doing that like he cried and he go down. He cried. He like getting quiet. I'm like, all right.
It starts fading away.
Yeah. He about to lay out right now. Oh, he going. And then he'll go out. I be like, dang. I be like, I thought he was out. So that's that is the worst though. But it's all good. He don't do that no more.
No.
All right.
Amen.
Well, it's been real, guys. It's been real.
It definitely
I think
has.
this was a good conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I was excited for this. Definitely. Because it is a good topic. It's definitely good, something to talk about.
And I think y'all were probably the couple best people to talk with me about it. Y'all are in the paint.
In the pain, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you might need to do a part 2 though.
Hey, you know
Commitment.
what?
Commitment.
Let's
That's another
set
one.
it up.
Yeah, you can say commitment. That's another one. And we can talk about being a father. That's a good one too. Being a father. How do you lead your home? That's a good one too.
What it looks like.
Yeah.
So I'm just giving you ideas. You know what I'm saying?
Boom.
Astroville, we out here giving you ideas.
Yeah. All right. So y'all gonna come back for like episode 7 or 8.
All right, bet. I'm down.
Run it.
Cool.
I'm down.
All right. Cool.
Absolutely. It was an honor to be here. Thank you for having us.
He about to shut it down.
I'm not. I'll just.
Hey, if anyone's in the Palm Bay area,
Melbourne.
Yeah, we're in Melbourne.
Melbourne, yeah.
We got this spot, you know what I'm saying? Link up with LightSeekers on Facebook or something, Come through if you're in the area on a Tuesday, 7:30.
Iron Man.
Yep.
And
We encourage growth.
We are out.
Amen.
It's been real.
It's been real.
That's
I love you, Papa. Appreciate it, Papa.
Dang. I know I was like, man.